Hey everybody, it's Cookie Brothers with FCF International. In July of last year, we had our first ever Vanguard event. It was an amazing event focused on living with the spirit of the Vanguard in our leadership. And when we talk about the spirit of a Vanguard, we're talking about someone who's willing to listen and consider and discuss with other leaders what might seem like outside the box. During one of our strategic team meetings last year, we were discussing the uniqueness of the season that we are in as humans on the earth, especially as Americans and as American Christians, and then of course, American Christian leaders. There's a great responsibility on us right now, and I wonder how many of us are ready to wholly engage what lies ahead, because it requires managing the tension between what we've always known and who we've always been and how we've always done with big, bold faith while being loving and sensible. In talking through some of this with our national director, Ernie Beers, one day, he said, well, it's kind of like Peter in Acts chapter 10. Well, of course, I had to go read that because I didn't remember what was in Acts chapter 10. But the Lord really spoke to me about it when I did. But to appreciate Acts chapter 10 better, you have to go back and look at chapter 9, because in chapter 9, when you look at the passage there, it reveals stories of Peter's ministry. It shows a pattern of ministry. So then when you go in Acts chapter 10, you think it's going to start with, this super spiritual guy with extensive ministry experience and all this stuff, but it doesn't. Chapter 10 starts with a tough guy, an elite military leader, but somewhere along the way, he's been impacted by Christians, and his prayers and alms have been acknowledged by God, and God gives him instructions. So here's an unsaved man asking the Lord what he needs to do towards God, and then you have this spirit-filled believer pushing back and questioning God. Because Peter's in prayer and a vision is needed to deal with both men, and the gospel is preached and Cornelius' house gets saved. But Peter has just come from healing a woman, from a healing and raising a woman from the dead, which resulted in many coming to the Lord. And so now he senses the need to pray, because that's how our steps are ordered. We know that. And during prayer, he gets hungry. So when he sees this vision, 3 times, by the way, it leaves him questioning, do we always see what God is showing? And do we always respond as a servant to what we hear God saying? Fred and I have whispered in discussion in the privacy of our own phone because it seemed like what we wanted to talk about was so far removed from what we always thought, even taught, or lived out ourselves. Peter couldn't see past his culture, built upon his values and purpose of living. God is the God of increase and desiring to expand Peter's calling and purpose, but Peter's response shut the vision down. But God, knowing this, came at Peter through another means, and that was through a man searching for God. There's stories after stories after stories throughout the Bible that reveal to us how those God has chosen then appears to them. Most can't really see what God's trying to show them. Moses, Gideon, Mary, now Peter. It's difficult to break out of our routine of how we've lived life or how we've always gone about doing ministry, but this is the spirit of a Vanguard. Last year, the Lord gave me some words to speak over myself in the ministry in my prayer time, and those words were advocate, standout, wired to embrace uncertainty, ignore social approval, impervious to fear, rejection and ridicule, a change agent, and a champion. In speaking to ministry leaders, the Apostle Paul revealed God doesn't want us to be shy with his gifts, but bold and loving and sensible. That's 2 Timothy 1, verse 7 from the Message Bible. He also reminded me that he has continuously and repeatedly spoken to my husband Fred and I concerning our ministry, saying someone has to go first. It requires courage to go first. And we can trust that our act of bold faith will inspire those watching to either change the momentum of their organizations or to celebrate a noble failure and trying something new. And going first is what FCF is all about. We've been pioneers in the word of faith since our inception. It's a great word, pioneer. until you're putting it in motion. It's exhausting emotionally and physically, wading through the weeds, but we want to exhibit the pioneering faith that can be followed. And we want you to be open to do what we're going to be doing over the next years. We're committed to grow ourselves and aid others, asking questions, seeking God, stretching ourselves, and to be advocates for our ministers, to be standouts clearing the paths for others, to be wired to embrace uncertainty and ignore social approval when what's ahead is unclear, to be impervious to fear, rejection, and ridicule when the stakes are high, and to be a change agent in our Word of Faith culture of leadership and to champion those who join. Now, if anything I have said to you up to this point has sparked something in you, let me take a moment and encourage you to attend our next Vanguard event, June 22nd through the 24th, right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Please mark your calendars and plan to join us here for a powerful event designed to help you consider ministry from a different perspective. We so desire to invest in the Vanguard in you. That's why this year we're offering registration for only $50 per person. Make sure you go to the website, thevanguardevent.com, to register and for all the latest information. We can't wait to see you there.